Hello everybody, welcome to the Wonky Angle where I talk about electronic music, both new and old, and today, in what is most likely my last review of 2017, I'm talking about the new-ish album from Serious Moe. Comic. Serious Moe is a German producer, real name Moritz Friedrich. I don't know. Who's been getting some minor buzz here and there. Now I've come into contact with this guy twice. First when I reviewed Jean-Michel Jarre's Electronica to the Heart of Noise, he worked with him on the track Circus from that album, and then later I found him featured on that Mr. Oizo album from last year, All Wet, in which he appeared on the title track from there. Both of those tracks he appeared on were pretty big highlights from those respective albums, so I figured since he has a newish album out now, I wanted to cover it before 2017 was over, in spite of the people who do not know how requests work. After hearing the guy's first three albums, Discoding, Mosaic, and Enthusiast, it first and foremost became clear very quickly why Mr. Oizo fans in particular were bugging me about this guy, as he sounds very similar to him in general, like in that Oizo and Justice bucket. He's got a typically rough and aggressive style, but also takes some funk and disco elements as well, though he does separate himself from Oizo in that he does utilize these kind of arpeggio synth melodies a lot. They are basically his thing. Like, even on the track he guest features on, now that I think about it. But Serious Moe also didn't strike me as an artist who really elicits an in-brief segment, as I don't think his three albums prior to this one were really all that different from each other. Discoding is more Oizo-esque than the other two, hadn't yet set himself apart. Mosaic was my personal favorite, being more of his own thing and more melodic and fun in general. And Enthusiast had some weird rap elements, which kind of put me off and ironically found me not as enthused as a whole. Not directly because of the rap elements, so they didn't really help. Or didn't really fit. So I can't say I was out of my mind with excitement to hear the guy's fourth album, Comic, though I didn't get any indication it would be bad. And yeah, what I got was not amazing, but pretty good. This album isn't anything particularly new for Serious Moe, but I did pretty consistently enjoy it. I'm half preparing myself for a fan base that says, "What? You didn't love it? It's not automatically your favorite album for the year? Yeah, I'm gonna mail you a murderous car tire to explode your head," or something to that effect. But yeah, you click on a review, you get an opinion, up to you how seriously you want to take it, and judging from that joke, you probably should not be taking it that seriously. Thing about this album is that I personally found it to be kinda scattered and all over the place. The 14 tracks on this thing range from okay to absolutely brilliant. Now I'll be honest, I don't think any of them are straight bad, but there are definitely winners and losers. And if I do end up coming back to it on a more regular basis, which is not out of the realm of possibility, I'm likely to skip around it a lot. So I'll start out with the stuff I didn't like as much. There are a handful of tracks here that kind of feel like weird filler to help give the album more flavor, and once again, it's kinda spotty. You got tracks like Wrong Password, La Bouche, and Wixen that are kinda just meant to sound weird. Again, help give the album more flavor, I don't mind them being there, but I was pretty consistently unengaged by them. Out of those three, Wrong Password is the best, and the one I'd be least likely to skip. It does have a kind of cool idea under it with the name, number vocals, and it does have some pretty great build-ups and payoffs. But I feel like a track like this doesn't work so well right at track 2. It kind of kills the momentum that the opener had started you off with. And La Bouche and Wixen are just not that interesting or fun to listen to. The latter in particular was just not that appealing to me at all. Possibly because it reminded me of one of my own terrible tracks from 2 years ago. But, I don't know. All the off-kilter and odd sounds, while interesting, just, more often than not, kinda had me itching for the skip button. Wasn't in the mood for this kind of stuff. Also, the track with Mr. Oizo as a guest feature, Doppelklick, was a major letdown for me. I guess it had a more interesting atonal vibe like those tracks I just mentioned, and it doesn't have me reaching for the skip button like some other moments, but it is rather dull in comparison with the other stuff on here. And I know there's gonna be some people going like, dude, this guy doesn't like a song because it was weird. He has no ear for experimental music. Now, I will freely admit that I tend to prefer more melodic stuff over experimental and atonal stuff in general, but the thing is that the melodic stuff in comic is so good that it kind of makes the more atonal stuff feel like an interruption of that vibe I had going. Like, you set me up in one certain mood with some tracks and then kind of break it with other ones. But yeah, on this melodic stuff, Serious Moe utilizes this combination of like this Napoleon Dynamite style, old school electric piano that gave it a bit of a 70s throwback vibe sorta, with all these cool synth textures that remind me of synthwave, albeit a lot more detailed and exciting. And my god, does Serious Moe have a good ear for melodies. And I don't even mean as in, like, they're more conventional and simplistic melodies that can easily get stuck in your head. I mean, like, in the same way a band like Steely Dan has great melodies. Not necessarily super catchy, but they're kind of more musically complex and just hit all the right pleasure points, I guess. I always feel kind of wrong whenever I use the word pleasure, but that's the best way I can describe it. I mean, tracks like Dagoberta, Geilomant, and Stock und Stein are all excellent in this way. Those three were definitely my favorites. And there were tracks with a little simpler appeal. Important Movie Scene and the title track, for instance, are more simplistic, but the melodies are really on point. The title track I did kind of figure out shares a chord progression with a Donna Summer track I know, which did give it some major sense of deja vu, but it's got a different enough vibe that I can give it a pass. The closer, Psychophant, was also pretty good in that same way. Works as an ending, though I kinda like the track right before it a fair bit more. And there were some tracks that can balance the experimental and melodic sides of Serious Moe pretty well. Tracks like Patina and Momento Mori did definitely have darker and more off-kilter vibes, but I didn't have any trouble getting into them. So yeah, I think in the end, my feelings on comic are a little all over the place, but I think I enjoyed it overall. I'm sure there'll be people watching who have absolutely no problem getting into this, or have any of the issues I've mentioned. A lot of it comes down to personal taste, really. I mean, I could do what I did with Rone's Meropolis earlier this year and keep the album on my iPod, but take out the tracks I don't like as much. Make the album shorter, but more engaging for me personally. I think I'm also going to need to go back to Mosaic more as well, since that one popped out as the Serious Moe album that best fit my own tastes and stood out to me as his best, but I suppose we will have to see in time. Overall though, while comic isn't exactly the best thing I've ever heard, it's not going to be your endless material. I do think there are some brilliant moments on this thing, and I would definitely say it's worth checking out, so I'm overall feeling a 7.5 out of 10. But of course, this is just my opinion. You can feel free to disagree with it, but I'd like to hear your thoughts, so leave the comments and comment thing down there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all for today. See you next time.